Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I think, Jay, we need to enable the microphone because we disabled everyone to people, and maybe someone wants to participate today. If you can please edit the meet invitation to enable them, be very, very useful. Thank you very much. Let's wait a couple of minutes more before to start. While we are waiting for the others, does anyone has questions about the previous session? Hey, Abby. Welcome.
I have one question. I was last time not on the session,
Mhm.
and is it possible to become video from last lesson?
Yes, it is. Actually, I'm sharing my screen. Let me see. Yeah, I'm sharing the screen. Yes. Let me share with you a couple of links, useful links that we're going to follow during the next session. Hello, Jorge. The page you actually see is a public space. That means anyone has access here. And in this page, I'm going to allocate all the links related to the previous event, the actual event, as well. The recorders. The recorders are in YouTube. You can see the previous session on here. Just go click on recordings and you will have the playlist with all the videos we are going to do. As well, I think you already have access. Similar for who doesn't have access, you have the link here to request access. And for questions during the week that someone has, you can just join to the LinkedIn group by following the link. Additionally, I'm adding here the slides we are going to use today, and I'm going to include the quiz. In the previous session, I mentioned that the idea is to make a more practical case, but it was so short and I couldn't have enough time to do it. So what I will be doing is I will be adding on these pages quiz, examples, scenarios, and as well the slides as we have for today. I think let's wait 1 minute more and then let's start.
Quick answer to Olga's question. We have the last meeting recorded and we YouTube as well, so I can share the link with her.
It's here. It's in
There, in the
this
link.
complement. Yes, you have.
Okay.
You see, you have the recordings. It's centralized here, so we don't need to go to multiple links. Just go here. You will find all the links.
Very much.
I'm sorry. Did you say something?
I said thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, I think let's start. As I mentioned, we have all the links here. Feel free to follow the links, materials, examples. We will try to add more information here, groups, LinkedIn, and access to laboratories. Today, I'm going to follow with the second session, which is about Jira board configuration. For this, I have prepared a Confluence page. I'm going to present. I'm using actually one plugin I really like. It's called Presenter. Presenter allow you to take the document you have in a Confluence page and convert it into a presentation without spending time in creating a specific slides for that. So today is board configuration. In order to make a bit more organized compared with the previous one, what we are going to do is we are going to try to follow this index, the agenda. First, we need to understand general concepts. Probably the majority of you in this meeting, you already know what are the general concepts, but sometimes there are some misclarifications, so we will do a quickly overview about what is a Jira project, what is a Jira filter, what is a board, what is a dashboard. And in between them, we also are going to mention about JQL, just be free example of what is JQL. We will not really go deep on JQL because that requires more time. What we can do is in the last session, the sixth day, we have free day. In the sixth session, we can include JQL more in deep details because I could say at least 4 or 5 questions in the exam is only focused in JQL. So it's very good understanding, not just to memorize all the queries you have, is more focused in what do you need to learn in terms of the ACP-620, because there are multiple functions, there are multiple formulas, and not all of them are going to come in the exam. They are very specific when they ask the questions, and is at least 4 or 5 of them that definitely ask because it's kind of confusing. They focus in the confusing part. After the general concepts, what we are going to see is board configurations. The board configurations is exactly what is coming into the agenda of the Atlassian the certification. They ask about given scenarios and how the scenarios are going to be translated into type of boards. They focus in 3 things: a Kanban board with backlog, and Scrum board. Why you choose each of them? Then the other part of the question, I could say the last Sunday when I did, at least at least I saw 3 questions of them. It was about the board configuration across multiple projects. It's kind of simple to do. Just we need to understand what are the limitations. We will see more of the troubleshooting by the end of the session, but as well in the configuration session of the project, we will see a bit more in detail the troubleshooting because a bit more deep related with permissions. The next one will be a typical question they ask a lot is the columns. Why the columns? How do you configure the columns? We'll do a practical example. You have access as well in our dev environment. Feel free to create, configure, and match and break your project. It's not a problem. If you break your project and you don't know how to customize bug, let us know and we can help you to restore and see where you can be blocked. As well, other question that I saw in the exam was about filters, the difference between of board filters, sub-filters, and quick filters. And they basically focus in a couple of scenarios and they ask you, what is the best solution? All of them cover almost the same thing, but they will ask you, why do you choose each of them in the multiple options, by order by priority, why you choose the recommended in the exam. As well, other part of the exam is about estimation. In Jira, we can estimate the Kanban in the Scrum board, focus in the Scrum. We can estimate in time, but also we can estimate in story points. They are going to ask you about the estimation you're doing, what you choose one type of estimation, what you choose other type of estimation. And it's important we start adding into our projects data because by the end of the session, the fifth session, we need to play and see reports. If we don't add tickets in our projects, we will not be able to play with this information. This is a task I'm going to let you at the end of the session as well to create tickets into your project. The other part and the last one is the swimlines. They want to see that you're able to customize and why you choose swimlines, why you choose colors, why you choose what is a card layout and how you can change the card layout, how does it work, working days, and the issue view detail. In the configuration of the project, we will see more about the issue view detail and the issue screens. In this one is just a small overview of them. So let's start. What is a Jira project? I know probably you already know what is a Jira project, but just a quick recapture. In this example or this picture, what you have is a box. In the box, we are trying to represent what we call Jira project. Imagine that you have a container and that container can allocate multiple elements. Those elements are issues or Jira is called issues. Those issues at the same time can be task, can be bug, a custom issue, can be epic, any other stories, and so on. You have multiple examples. Each of those elements, and here's the important part, contains inside of them elements, attributes. Those attributes Jira call fields. There are some standard fields we need to memorize them. I will include in the notes as well what are the key fields you must memorize. And in the project configuration, we will double check the most important of them. But just in advance, I can say the most important fields of a ticket are the issue type, which represent if it's a task, a story, bug, epic, or any other. Other important field is the status. Many of the questions related to JQL are going to be around the status. And if a ticket is in actual status or was in a specific status, as well, they will ask you for assignee, reporter, and components. It's not in this example, but components, oh, it's here. Components is another important field for Atlassian because components allow us to auto-assign people based on the value of the component. Similar for version. Version is another important one because version is called affected version here. In a bug is called in an issue bug is called affected version. In a task is called a fixed version, and in the Jira board is called version. So it has three names, but it's the same thing, and they will ask you when you move from one project to another, where which values will be loosened, which values will remain in the project when you change the ticket. So we will see, as again, those in more detail into the project. And I could say that's it. There are a couple of other things that you have in the issue, which is the description and comments and the time you are working in the issue, as well extra fields you can add into your issue. The next question is, what is, next question is, what is a filter? Basically, we have in the previous example, a project. A project represents the box, and the box contains multiple issues, each of the issues with different types, task, custom, epic, story, so on. What is a filter? Filter basically is a feature into Jira that allow us to organize the information and select some of them and group them and give us that information in a store filter or in a JQL formula, or we can use the same filter JQL into boards, into dashboards, as we are going to see in few minutes. But basically, a filter is not more a group of the same ticket are living into one project or multiple projects. We will see a bit more in what I mean with multiple projects when we will create a multiple projects board. In this example, for example, we have one filter is called show me the team two. The team two contains stories and epics. We have another aggregation, one of related to the bugs, show me all the risks, which are taking the three bugs. Similar for all features, which has the four tasks in this section. So we write the queries, we write the JQL, or we create the filters. We can store them, and then we can utilize them. This is a filter. So what is a board? A board in Jira, we have two types of board. You have the Kanban board and the Scrum board. The board is basically, doesn't matter if it's Scrum or Kanban, the board is a subgroup of the tickets in a project that you use it by selecting using a filter. When you create a board, automatically the system or the Jira will take all the project, will create a single filter with all the tickets into the project and will populate into your board. So a board in company management is just the group of tickets from a project represented in columns. In the case of Scrum, we'll also include the backlog and also will include the sprint management. In the case of Kanban, the backlog is going to be optional, but not necessarily will be included. As well, when you create a board, the board has related to the data you filter in your issue field, in your JQL or your Jira filter, related to that data is going to have the charts. All the charts are mapped to your filter. So it's very important. We're going to see in a minute this part, the configuration of the filters into a board. So just for simplifying and repeating once again, a board is just how we use the filters to map the data from a project, one or multiple projects, into the Kanban or Scrum view. The other question I added is, what is a dashboard? Same. Many people confuse about what is the board, what is the project, what is a dashboard. Those are three separated entities. The project is the container of the tickets. The filter help us to aggregate all those tickets or all those issues. Then we have the Jira board, which show us in Kanban or Scrum, but separated to all of them, we have Jira dashboards. What are the Jira dashboards doing? Basically, it's a separated entity that doesn't live into the project, but allow us to create gadgets. And for each gadget, we can map a Jira filter. We can associate to a Jira project. We can associate to multiple Jira filters as well. So it's a flexible solution that is a place where you can add gadgets, and for each gadget you can include a direct relation to filters or projects. That means that you can have one Jira dashboard, and the Jira dashboard will contain more than one single project, or maybe will be related to a single project because there is no relation. Regarding what is JQL, JQL is coming from Jira Query Language. And I tried to make a picture of this, but I didn't have enough time for that. What I try to represent here is basically, imagine that you have a library. The library, a JQL is basically the process you do to search in Jira. In this example, I'm trying to map the library with Jira, a book with an issue. So for example, when you go to the library, you're looking for one book. When you go to the Jira, you look for an issue. And the attributes that the book have is what we call fields in Jira. For example, if you go to the library and you're looking for some books, for example, Star Wars, the title of the book is the attribute of the book you are looking for, but also you can look for author or for uh, publication date. Similar, these elements you are looking for, the attributes you are looking for, those in Jira are called fields. So just, I wanted to create a picture, I couldn't, but that's the idea. And a couple of examples here, we will see in Jira. I don't want to spend much time here, but just a few examples. The first one, all tasks J has been working in. So I have one attribute, which is assignee, is the person is working in a ticket, equal J, which means J has been working in this ticket. If I want to be more specific, here there is another example. All tasks J is working, but is still not complete. Here is where is coming the fields that you must memorize. Uh, as I mentioned, there are not many, but there are some important fields you must memorize. One of them is the people is working or responsible for a task, Jira calls assignee. When you close a ticket in the Kanban board or the Scrum board, and then appears a line marking that the task has been completed, internal field is going to be set. The name of this field is called resolution. The moment when you resolve or close a ticket, automatically as well is said is called resolved. So you have multiple fields. The most important or in those important fields is resolution assignee. And in the example, in the sentence we have here, all task J is working and still not complete. What we need to include is basically the assignee is equal J, and to include as part of the condition all those issues that has empty value. As well, this is an operator. We will see probably in the 6, if we have time, more details how to play, what are the key parts. Let's see another example. Here we have all tasks J is working and is still not complete, or all the tasks Frank is working and still not complete. Basically, it's a conjugation of the first one plus, here is the operator, or assigning Frank and resolution is empty. It's missing this part. We can do this long query, or we can compress the query. This is the flexibility of Jira, the JQL. Another way to say the same way is assign J or assign Frank in between brackets, and we add a conditional for all the elements. Resolution is empty. As I mentioned, we need to have more time for the JQLs, so just a couple of examples of them. Then we have the second part, which is board configurations. Before to start to board configurations, is there any questions you have, any of you, that what I explained wasn't clear? Nope. Perfect. So let's go to board configurations. Board configurations start with given scenarios. What they're going to do is basically show you three scenarios. I will try to understand what do you recommend for as board. The first scenario is we have a software development team is launching a new mobile application. They are planning to work in time-boxed intervals. Remember this part? They're planning to work in some intervals of timing, addressing and prioritizing list. That means before to start to work on them on those intervals, they need to prioritize them for the features and bug. They need to commit a specific tasks. So when they have prioritized, they commit a number of tasks for each interval and review the progress. Basically, they are asking the definition of an Scrum. In this example, let me see the answer. Yes. In this example is a typical question. What will Atlassian will ask you is, we'll give you an example like this, and we'll give you 3-4 options. You must choose one of them, which Scrum you're going to choose. In the previous example, they didn't talk about the management. Let's do another round again. Imagine that the Atlassian scenario is we have the same. We have the development team that is going to work in intervals with the commitment and prioritization and the review of the progress by the end. But they want to have the flexibility to manage and configure the issue types, manage or configure the screens. What we choose, they will give you all the options, including company, team management, and for each of them, they will give you Scrum and Kanban. In this case, we know that this is Scrum, but if the requirement means the project manager needs to have the capacity to configure the project, configure the issue types, configure the screen, configure all this flexibility without asking to the Jira administrator. In that case, this project and board is going to be a team management board. Going to the next question or next scenario. A customer support, the customer support team handles incoming issues and queries from users. The teams wants to visualize their workflow, manage the constant workflow tasks, and ensure that no ticket remains unaddressed for too long. In this example, they didn't specify about the commitment. They didn't specify about duration. So for this case, they are going to definitely use a Kanban, because you are receiving tickets, you are trying to complete as much as you can, but you don't have a specific deadlines, you don't have a specific intervals to implement those work. So this is a Kanban. In the next one, and the last, a project management team collect ideas, feedback for product. They want a space to store and prioritize. Here's the key: store and prioritize. Always when they mention prioritize or store and like a filter, they are talking about the backlog. And when they talk about backlog, if it doesn't have intervals, let's continue with the reading. Sorry. while also having Flow address and implement top priorities, transitioning them through different stages until completion. So as well, in this example, they are not talking about intervals, they are not talking about commitment, but they are talking about prioritization, which means backlog. In that case, we have a combination of you don't have a commitment, but you need to have a backlog. So that one is going to be a Kanban as well, but with a backlog. And here the explanation, basically reading Kanban board. Yes, basically the key here is they want to store, they want to discuss, they want to prioritize. All of those concepts means backlog. They don't have commitment. They want to have a progression and completion. That means Kanban. So what we are going to do now is a couple of practical examples for the next 5 topics. Questions about the previous scenarios? Okay, seems it's not. So let's do, let me close this one. Let's start with configure boards across multiple teams and projects. Okay, let me start with this point. I'm going to open the test environment. By the way, all of you must have access to our test environment. We give you project admin permission. Let me just show you. Gabriela, Jorge, Jay, everyone has their own projects. We created 3 projects. The reason because we give you project admin permission rather than a Jira administrator is because the exam is going to be focusing the limits a project administrator can do. And all the questions are around those limits. So try to configure, try to change, modify everything you have in your own project, and you will see the limits. It's the best way to do. See the limits you can do, and the things you cannot do is what exactly are going to ask you. In this example, starting with create boards across multiple teams and projects. Let's do that. I'm going to start in one project. I will choose for that a company managed, which is my project. And in this section, we have the option of create board. The standard way of creating board is just by click, let me repeat. You go to your project. Inside of the project, there is the board by default you have created. And in this board, you can just go down and click in the last option, which means create. And then when we have this view, we can select which type of board we can create. As this is a company project, we can create as much as many because the boards in this project is just a view on top of the project. So I'm going to select, I will start with the Scrum. When we select the Scrum project, sorry, when we select the project Scrum, we have 3 options. We can create a new project, and that option only appears to me because I'm a Jira administrator. If I'm with the project administrator, you will not be able to see this project by default. Doesn't mean you cannot change because we can modify global permissions for that. But by default, which are part of the exam question, you will not see this, but you will see the other 2 options. In these 2 options, you can create by existing project, which means you can select the actual project or you can select a list of projects and you can create a Scrum board on top of all of them. As well, we can do by filter. Let's start with this one. Existing project. ACP-620. I will call number 1. I will select the project I am actually, which is ACP-620 Company Managed Kanban. And I will select as well another project more. I will select ACP 620. Company J company management. And ACP 620 or GP. So we have, I'm trying now to select 3 projects and then also ask me for the location. What means the location is, it's true, the Scrum board will have the data, the tickets, the issues from all these 3 projects by default, but will be stored in one of the projects, will be appear in the left side of one of them, which I'm going to choose the same one. So we click on create, and that's it. We have the project, the board cross multiple teams and projects. Now, this is not what they are going to ask you. What they are going to ask you in the exam is going to be related about, let's do one thing. Jay, if you allow me, please, I'm going to change one of your volumes or status in your project. This is J project, is called ACP-620. Sorry, this is, no, this is not J project, this is my project. I'm going to create one ticket in J project, and I want to modify it to show you the particular example. So we have J. I will assign to myself and create. So as we can see here, we have the ticket example, which is AGCM. That means it's not in my project, it's part of J project. I'm going to create one sprint and start the sprint with all the tickets. If we click in the first and we keep shift press and click in any other row below, we can select multiple tickets. So I'm selecting all the 6 tickets. I added all of them to the sprint. I'm going to start the sprint for 2 weeks time, and automatically, once the sprint is open, the board bring me to the active sprint. So I switch to the active sprint. What is the exam? Is more focused about troubleshooting, and in the cross multi-projects, the typical question they will ask you or will be related with this is why one of the tickets that had before you visualized, like this one, start disappear off your board. Let's make it disappear. If we open the ticket from J, we see that the J flow only has 3 status, as the status of mine probably. So I will do is I will modify in his Scrum column, his board. I'm going to modify. I'm going to include another status. I will go on review. So I have the on review. I will back to J project. I will move my ticket on review. See, I need to refresh sometimes. Yes. Now the ticket is on review. So Jay still can see his project. His project contains his board contains only tickets from his project. But if I switch back to my previous board, the tickets from Jay, which was assigned to myself, disappear. This is the question. Why a user, in my case Frank, has lose or cannot see anymore the ticket in the cross multiple project board? The answer is simple. All the boards, if we go to board settings, if we go to columns, all the boards has status map into columns. And what happened is if someone modify the workflow in the other project, which is a multiple projects board, if someone modify the workflow and the status of the new workflow is not mapped into my columns, I just lose the visibility. That's it. That's the reason. So I will include this missing column. I can call the same name of the status, or I can call as I want. Waiting. I'm going to map and move to the middle. So doing that, I fix it. Which other things we can do? As I mentioned, when we create a project, a board related to multiple projects, if we go to general, the other part of the question that will ask you is who is the administrator of the project, of the board? As you can see here, the administrator of the board I have created for 3 projects where each of the project has different leads. By default, the board has myself, the creator of the board, as a board administrator. Question of the exam: are the project administrator of one of the boards able to modify this particular board? Answer: not, because by default I'm the unique administrator. I can grant permissions to the other leads, so I can now grant permissions to Jay. I can give permissions to Jorge. So now the other project administrators can modify my board. This is part of the question. And the other thing, as I mentioned, when you create a board, the system creates a filter by default. Filter is the JQL, the query we were talking in the beginning. If we see here, there is edit filter. And if we open the filter in another tab, we will see certain fields pre-selected. We can switch to JQL to see what is inside and then understand what is the filter giving us as data. The filter is giving us project, which is our attribute, the attribute of the tickets that has the project ACM, ACP-620, KC, AJCM, all of them ordered by rank. Rank, what is the rank one? Rank, which also I saw a couple of years ago in the exam, rank, the field or the property rank means just to change the vertical location. If you move up, down. Also, troubleshooting question would be, uh, Pepe is the administrator of the board, but cannot change the prioritization, the vertical prioritization, or the rank of the user. What could be the reason? The reason if you cannot do this is because the filter created by the system can be modified. And now we can modify. Like instead of say by rank, I will say by type. If I save, search, and then save, if I go back to my board, before I could move, now I cannot move anymore. Why? Because the ranking has been disabled. And the ranking hasn't been disabled. What happened is the ranking has been changed in my filter. This is part of the troubleshooting question. Which other things related to the multiple boards we can have? Permissions. That is very important. By default, the administrator of the board can configure the project, the board, but doesn't mean that person, in this case myself, can change the query because the query is created by default for me. If I open the query again, if I click on details, I will see all the details of the filter, this filter that I'm using in the board. If I click on edit permissions, I can see who are the viewers. In this case, all the projects, all the users from these 3 projects are the viewers of my filter, but no one of them is editor, only me, because I created. So I am allowed to modify this filter, but I'm not allowed, no one else, either the the board administrators can modify this filter. Can we change this? Definitely. We just need to click on the filter, edit the filter, and then grant someone else permissions. I can select the same, the company manage. I can select everyone from my project. I will select also J. company management J. So now both projects has permissions to modify the filter. Anyone in my project will be able to modify the filter. Anyone in the project of J will be able to modify the filter. Filter is visible for users and can be modified by those users. And I think that's almost everything. The last detail. As I mentioned at the beginning, we can create by selecting multiple projects, the board, or we can create our own custom filter and then select the filter. Let's do this example. Instead of selecting projects, I'm going to select filters. So I'm going to create, I will go to filters, all issues. I will create my new query. You can create your own JQL query, but to be honest, when I started using Jira, I couldn't. It was very complex for me because I'm very lazy to memorize the formulas. So at the beginning, what I was doing is basically using the basic filter. You can start with this. You can build your filter using the parameters and then later just switch to JQL and see the formulas behind. I want to create a filter for all the tickets where I am assigned, and also J is assigned. So I have tickets that myself and J or J are assigned. As well, I want to see all of them that are not completed yet, which means resolution unresolved. Or let's do resolve. Yes, we have some of them resolved. So in this case, what I did is all the tickets that I'm working or Jay is working, but are already resolved. I will use, yeah, has been resolved. If I click on search, I will find the list of them, which are 3. Now, if you want to see the formula, you just need to switch on JQL and I will see the formula. Appears something random name. This is because Jira tried to protect the names is a policy. But if I will replace this part, I will text his name. Yay. Yes, this long number is his name. And if I text my name, this other long number is my username. Internally, the system convert into the IDs. So reading the query I build using the basic view, resolution equal done, which means that the ticket has been completed. And assignee in, when I see the operator in, I have here a group of data. This list of data is coming between brackets, these 2 elements. So any of them fits the definition, or Frank or Jay. And here, this is something the system added. I didn't ask to include the last 30 days, but for some reason included. What it's doing here is also saying all the tickets that has been created major equal minus 30D, which means major equal 30 days ago. So in the last 30 days, the tickets that has been created and has been resolved and assigned to Frank and Jay. If I switch to the basic, I will see again. And the value of the data is here. If I click here, I will see within the last 30 days. This is the translation. So we have the query. Now let's save it. I'm going to save, say Frank and Jay tasks completed. Or I will do Frank Jay tasks without completed. I will remove also because I have only 3 tickets. I want to have more tickets. I will search again. I will save. So I have a filter created. We saw the first example how to create multiple projects, one board with multiple projects. We can see now the same, but by a filter. We select the second option. We'll click on next. We call Scrum from filter. And now we text the name of our filter, which is Frank and Jay, and create. And now, again, we have the data coming from all the projects where Jay is working or myself we're working. And then if I go to active sprint, I will be able to see. And here, because this is part of the questions, can I have multiple sprint? Yes, you can have multiple sprints running at the same time in a cross project board without any issues. Just create a filter or add multiple projects. If the other project has different sprints, you will be able to see those active sprints. So here, if I click one of them, I will see only the tickets from the sprint from Jay or my. And I think that's it for the uh, configuration boards with multiple projects. The next one is columns to match the workflow process. I already did that before, a few minutes ago. Just double check. When we go to settings, we have the columns. By default, you will have to do, in progress, and done. But your project or your filter may have multiple statuses. So all the statuses are going to be the gray colors of the status. For example, to do, reopen, and the review, they have a gray status color, which means a status category is to do, moves automatically to the column to do when you create a Scrum, when you create a cross project board using filter. In the case of the blue status is status category in progress. All of them are blue, awaiting approval, in progress, escalated, on review. All of them moves automatically, in progress, and similar. The status category done, which is the green one, goes to the green column. Here we have a couple of examples: canceled, undone, failed, and resolved. Now what we can do is we can customize this by click on here. We can add a new column. We can create a review. We can create another one. Block. Let me just show you. Block. So I have two columns. I'm going to move. The last column always is going to be the green visual. So try to let the last statuses or green statuses for the last column. I have pending. I'm going to map on review. Implementing. I'm going to map in this one. Waiting for customer here. And escalated to blocked. So this is what means the mapping of a status in columns. Another interesting feature that has the company management is the constraints. As part of the exams what are coming, what are the constraints? Basically is we can configure the number of tickets are going to trigger a red alert. No, it's not an alarm, it's just a visual. Let me show you, it's easier. I will say the maximum number of tickets I can have in progress is 3. The minimum one is 1. So if I set these limits, if I go back to the ticket, to my board, I will see in red flagged. Why? Because I over exceed the tickets in the column in progress. If I move back, I'm 3, so I'm fine. If I also reduce again, yellow. These two indicators are also part of the exam. Those you can configure in the board settings, columns, and the mapping, and set constraint. The set constraint can be issue counting. Any issue can be considered here is subtask as well, or issue excluding subtasks. I'm going to show in a minute the first one. For example, I have this one. On this, I can create a couple of subtasks. So we have 3 subtasks. And if I refresh my screen, the subtasks are in other status. Mm, mm, mm. Mm, I cannot see. I think I'm missing configuring something. Oh, yeah, I know. It's because they are not assigned. The filter we added is all the tickets that myself and Jay are assigned. That's why they weren't included. So now we have this one. So as we can see, we have this ticket is in progress, and now we have swim lanes. Let me disable swim lanes 1 second. The next one is the swim lanes, so I will disable for the moment. So now we have the task, which is the ticket example, and below the task, so I have the ticket example and then all the subtasks related to this one. I cannot move on top because I didn't include the rank, so I'm going to include the rank now. If you click on rank, what we'll do is we'll include in the query by rank. That will fix the problem you have of change the priority, the order. So now I have my ticket and change to red because I mentioned that any ticket that are in the column progress is going to be considered as part of the metric. So if I don't want to consider subtask, I just need to disable in the columns issue count exclude subtask. So I will back to the normal color. Great. Next point. We have filters, subfilters, and quick filters. All of them sound similar, but they are not the same. What we were customizing in the example is the filter. Let's go here, general. Here we can see this one is the board. Yes, this one is a filter query. Atlassian call board filter. The board filter is what is going to provide to us the result of the tickets on the board filter will give us all the statuses that you see here, but also will give you all the numbers that are going to be considered in the report. Each board, sorry, going back 1 second. I'm in the Scrum from filter board. The Scrum from filter board has related one filter, JQL filter. That filter will bring to you the data for the reports. So all the data you have in that filter will be considered here, even if you don't display in the columns. For example, if I have some tickets selected for development and it's a map status, I cannot see the ticket into I move it outside of the column, so I cannot see anymore into do those tickets. But because the ticket is part of the filter of the board, this information will affect the metrics of the report of this board. And then additionally to the standard board filter, there is another one. It's called quick filter. It's not quick, it's sub filter. It's not visible here. I'm going to show you in one other project in the normal. In this one, for example, if I go to board settings, so I have my normal filter, which is this one, the filter ACP company Scrum board, but down below I have a subfilter. Sorry. Maybe here. It's here. Yeah, it's here. And only works for Scrum. Sorry, as for Canva, not for Scrum. The other question, the exam is focused is about this one, the subfilter. You have the standard filter, which is this one, and affects all the reports. But you can have internally as on top of the filter you have here. For example, assuming those are my filter for, let's open. This filter bring me to all the tickets for company project. So I have all the tickets for this project. But if I want to add another restriction, assignee is not empty, which means all the tickets assigned to myself, I assign to someone, and I update this filter. What is going to happen is if I go to the Kanban, to the view, I will not see all the tickets that doesn't have assignee. If I remove J as an assignee will disappear from the board, as you can see. So in this case, this sub-filter I added on top of the previous filter will not affect the reports. So the reports will still consider the data from the main filter. And then the other part, the exam is focused, that works for both for Kanban and Scrum, is these little buttons up top. Those are called quick filters. If I go to click on here, I will see streamlines, quick filters. And in quick filters, what is a quick filter? It's another way to exclude or filter the information that you see in the board, but by doing a click in the button. In this case, I will do assign equal Frank to myself. Then here will add Frank tasks. If I do this, I see here Frank tasks, which is empty. And if I change from J to Frank, and if I click on filter, I will be able to see these three elements the exam are going to ask you. Filter, the board filter, which is the global filter you add in the board, or is created automatically when you create a board. The second one is the sub filter that only appears in Kanban company boards. And the last one is the quick filters that are cross to any type of boards into Jira. And the main thing or the business case for each of them is whenever you don't want to affect the reports, you need to take care of the board filter because those affect the reports. Whenever you want to hide information without doing any click in the active Kanban or Scrum board, you need to sorry, the actual active the Kanban board, you need to use sub filters. And if you want to filter information by click, you can use the quick filter. Questions until now? I think we have a couple of minutes. I want to touch swim lines before to go to swim lines. Is there any questions? Do you have? Yes, Jay. Go ahead.
I have a couple of questions, quick one. You know, the done status. So when we change an issue from one status to another status, when it reaches the done status, the resolution is set is done. But why it has to be the rightmost column? What if it's not the right before the rightmost column? Is there
Eh,
anything changes to the issue?
Good question, Jay. There is two cases. If it's in a Scrum board or if it's a Kanban board. If it's in a Scrum board, the resolution will be set automatically in the last column by default. If it's a Kanban board, as you can see here, you can set the resolution in previous statuses. So it depends what you want to use.
Great.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that does. Yeah. Another one about the board. So if a user copied a board from another user, so by default he's owner of the new copied board. The question is if the previous owner still have the permission to do necessary changes in the new board. For example, if the new owner want to add something, delete something, is entirely his own board. If the previous owner have some permission to do changes in the new board.
When you copy the new board, what is going to happen is you will have all the configurations for the previous board, but the filter will be the same. If you don't have permissions in the filter, the quick recommendation is open the filter, see what is the query, create a new filter for you where you have permissions, and then update the filter. That is going to be the best solution. For some reason, I cannot see the option of copy. There usually was over here, create a board. I cannot see anymore the option of copy filters. I don't know if it's something from my side. Uh, mm, mm, mm.
Or it's the same way, if I copy a filter, I'm going to be the owner of the filter. If the previous owner have the right to do changes in the new filter.
In the new filter, not. When you copy a filter, you are the owner of your filter. For example, let me show you. I am a Jira admin, so I can see all the filters of the system. If I go to issues, and if I go to, sorry, not issues, system, share, filters, I can see any of the filters. For example, this one is your filter. What I can do is I can change owner. I cannot do a copy. For example, this is your filter. I'm going to open the filter. I will search. I remember there was a simple solution to copy. Oh yeah, copy filter. I'm creating the copy filter, Frank. That was yours originally, but look, the editor by default is me. So you lose the permission in the new filter. This one, I'm the owner, you are now the owner. I have the filter with all the criteria you added into your filter, but now the unique person that can modify that filter. That answer your question?
Great. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So let's go to estimation and swimlines, the last two things. Those are kind of quick. Let's start with swimlines, which is what we see already on here. And I'm going to switch back to the original project because I can see more. Multiple project. So swimlines. If you go to the board settings, we have a section where we can see swimlines. And swimlines is basically, let's remove to see what is no swimlines, and then we can see what is swimlines. As you can see here, we don't have any swimlines, but if I include one, I'm going to include by, for example, assignee. Show all, that's it, I'm back. Swimline is basically a way to organize your tickets split horizontally by a criteria. You have by stories, by assignee, by epics, or by query. You can create your own filter and then will be separated row by row, depends of the query you are creating. In this example, I use it assignee, and part of the exam, the usual questions I saw is, what is the recommendation you will give for a company which wants to see the information separated by assignee without click or without doing any click? In that case, the best solution is swimlines, because you select the swimline by assignee or by a specific query, and then you will have the information displayed. If you have multiple options and they told you to select at least two options, the other option would be a quick filter. You can do swimlines and quick filters. Both of them will help you to filter information, and both of them can be related to JQLs or queries. And I would say the last topic, which is, oh, sorry, no, still a bit more. In the swimlines, we have the configurations of the cards. When we go to the project, in the project, we have this, which is our ticket. And the ticket, you can have more things. In the issues, you can do more things. For example, by default, you see only the assignee, the ticket, the issue type, the priority, and the estimation. But you can add more information on that. If you want to add more information, the Jira call issue cards or card layouts, sorry. Card layouts. If we go to card layouts, we will be able to add information in two places. One of them is in the backlog and the other one is in the sprint. I'm going to use, for example, reporter, which all of them has reporter, so we can see. I'm going to use created, which everyone has created. By default, when you create a ticket, you set the value created. And I'm going to show you where those informations appear now. If I go back to the board, I can see that in the card, in the active sprint, I see now the created date. And then if I go to backlog, I also will see the reporter below the summary of the ticket. Those informations can be customized in card layout, and card layout supports two places to modify the backlog and the active sprint or the Kanban view, and it is a limit. Only 3 fields can be added in each of them. You cannot add more than 3. As soon as you add 3, the option of adding more disappear. If I add actual stats, show you, and then affect version, and that's it. I have only 3 options, and if I go to the board, I will be able to see the 3 values in the backlog and the 3 values in my card. If they don't have, you will see none as the example. The next point is card colors, working days, and issue detail. Go back, card colors. same. If we go to configure, similar as you can configure the fields are going to be displayed in the backlog or the active sprint, you can customize the colors or a little line of the color you can see in the tickets. As the swim lines, you can do by issue types, by priorities, assigning and queries. I'm going to do by queries, no, by priorities. I think it's easier. By priority, and then you can select the color. We'll do a blue. Medium, I will do, that's fine. Low, I'll change to gray. And then all of them appear with orange because all of them by default has the priority median. If I change the priority to high, if close, I will see that the colors change. If I do lowest, gray. And if I do low, it's going to be green. So these colors can be added and customized in color cards. Color cards, I did priority, but same, you can use assign. You can mark assign all the tasks from Frank in color red, for example, and all the tasks assigned to Jay in color green. And anything else that doesn't have color, I can assign to blue color, black color. So if I click on here, I will see all the cards non-assigned in blue, green to Jay, red to myself. You can choose the options you want. I would recommend to practice and test all those options because they will ask you some things like what are the limits, if you can include labels, you cannot include labels, of course, or if you can include components, you cannot, but by queries, definitely you could answer. You can do queries and then create your query based in fields or specific conditions. The other point, as far as I remember, was the working days and issue detail view. Issue detail view is just this section, as similar as the card layout, where you can add 3 fields in the backlog or active sprint. Issue detail view is when you click in the ticket in the issue and opens in the right side, a kind of a short view of your ticket. You can also customize those informations. Without changing anything, I'm going to show you what I mean. Click on one, and then you see this. This is issue detail view. No, I think I cannot see. Yeah, well, should be that one. In the past, I remember was adding over here, and then you could see a quick view, but seems different. Oh no, this is issue detail view. For example, if let me make a bit bigger. Here, if I click on one task, you see some fields. Those fields are in issue detail view. If you want to include more, for example, I have a senior reporter, I will add created in the detail. So I will just modify my board settings, issue detail view. I will include created. Doesn't allow me. I'll include sprint. Add sprint. So now, because I added sprint, let me refresh the screen. Sprint, empty. No, where is sprint? Sprint is here. So this is issue detail view. Is the view you have when you click in the backlog. The fields you will see here can be customized, and those are customized into board issue detail view. I don't remember questions regarding issue detail view. I remember more questions regarding to the screens and layouts, which is going to be the next session, configuration of project. Let me see the next point. I think we saw working days and issue detail view. In the configuration of the board, we can also customize the working days. Let me show you that one. For settings, working days. We can set, by default it's from Monday to Friday, but you can include another day. You can also include non-working days. For example, in Spain, today is a non-working day. So thank you very much, Jorge and Chus, to be in this meeting because I know you're not working today. And that's it. You can include no working days. Those no working days will be considered in the reports and metrics. For example, if you do sprints, the non-working day will be included into your sprint and will count as a day less. So your capacity will not be affected if you include the non-working days into your board. And time estimation, the last one. The projects by default, when you create, are estimated by story points, but doesn't mean you need to do by story points. Initially, when you start the project, you can also estimate your projects or your task in time. If you do in time, you can use original estimate. The often questions I saw are related to these two elements, or estimation by story or estimation by timing. If you do by timing, you also can do remaining time spent, which will show you how much time still remaining after you add it. If we go to the backlog to show you what is the change between this is now when I try to estimate the task, for example, here, the number appear here is related to my estimation in hours rather than story points. That's it. This is everything. Question regarding this, I don't remember, to be honest. No, more related to metrics. So I will ask you, please, if you have your Jira project, add tickets, create tickets for you and assign to any one of this team, anyone you see in the company, assign to them, because we need to start adding tickets. In the next session, we will close some of them. So by the next week, we will have reports. We need to have data. If we don't have data, we cannot see the session of reports because it's empty to analyze. Any questions? Perfect. If it's not any other question, thank you very much again for joining to this session and see you the next one. Cheers. Oh, yeah, you're asking.
Can you hear me? Oh, sorry, if
Yes.
no one asking a question, I know I'm asking too many questions. Just a
No, no.
last quick one. You talked about ranking.
Yeah.
So, why do you need to be important to enable ranking to move issues up and down and about?
It's just a property. Basically, if you don't include this value into the filter, you will not be able to move up and down. That's not more. It's a technical restriction. If you see ranking is disabled, filter configuration will bring me to the filter. And in the filter, I can add myself, or I can just click on add, and the formula will be updated to include this property that needs to have. If you don't have this property, your up and down doesn't work.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. If it's not any other question, thank you very much for joining to this session and see you the next one. And remember, all the information, including this presentation, is in the Confluence page. You will have here, you can see all the documents, the examples. And that's it. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.